between you and me, right where you are right in this moment, is exactly where you were meant to be. So, wherever that may be, just be.
To be a new you.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Joygasmic Life podcast.
Your permission slip to raise your standards and live an even more amazing life. Now, if you're feeling like that's way out of the ball game and you're really suffering with like pain in your body, guilt, shame, anxiety, depression, like these emotions run a lot of people's lives, and that's not by accident. Our culture is set up to keep us in those emotions because it's easier to control people when they're in those emotions. But if you're on an awakening journey and you have recognized that those are there, you have taken the most crucial step to get out of that, which is to become aware that it's actually happening. It's time to awaken, to bring all the parts of yourself back to this present moment and explore the joy that is your life when you live full out, fully expressed, fully harnessing the joygasmic potential of your body and yourself. Anything is possible, and especially we are here to tell you that deep and fulfilling love is possible and is available for you when you choose that for yourself.
Hey, and welcome to today's podcast. Today's podcast is about the 30-day sex date. So this came about, I heard about it on the internet somewhere, and in my personal experience, I first tried this when I was starting a relationship with my beautiful life partner, Daniel, and we were in a long distance relationship. We had not lived together. We had not even really dated. We'd seen each other 8 days total before he moved in with me 4 months into our relationship. Now, if you're thinking that's a little crazy, how exactly did she do that? You absolutely need to check out my Circles of Commitment e-course, because that is a beautiful, beautiful resource that walks you step by step how to create increasing circles of commitment that allow you to really know how committed you are to your partner, as well as stop you from getting into mistakes and challenges where you are committing to somebody who's really not ready to commit to you. I made this mistake several times. I was looking for a life partner and somebody who would raise my children with me. I never once asked any of those 6 boyfriends I had if they were interested in parenting my child. I just assumed that because they were relatively willing to show up and hang out with me and my kid, that meant they were willing to invest time, energy, and emotion into helping raise him. Not so. They were mostly there for the sex. I don't blame them. I was mostly there for the sex and for my loneliness. Anyways, that was radically vulnerable. We're here to talk about the 30-day sex date. So the 30-day sex date is absolutely something you can try at any point in your relationship. I personally tried it at the very beginning when my partner, who I had not had a lot of experience with and had only had a very little bit of intimacy with, moved in with me. I was already living platonically with another human man who we had a very platonic relationship. I was kind of attracted to him. That's a little bit of a messy situation to get into, and that's another story for another day. But my partner and I said to myself so clearly, I was like, there is no freaking way I am ending up in a sexless relationship. I have a high sex drive. I am a happy woman. I was not so happy at the time. I'm a happy woman now. And sex is something that makes me happy. Sex is something that absolutely would take me out of those depressions and free me and help me feel like life was worth living. And I said, I don't want to end up in a sexless relationship. It is so easy with a kid that we're going to be co-parenting, with work that he's got going on and work that I've got going on. It is so easy to put sex on the back burner and have it not exist in our relationship. And I was absolutely terrified of doing that. So I suggested to him, let's do a 30-day sex date. Let's have sex every day for 30 days. Now, before you turn the podcast off and go like, oh my God, I could never do that, bear with me, okay? Sex is not necessarily penetrative intimacy, although it can be defined as such. Sex is not necessarily sex you don't want to be having. But if you're in the first 30 days of moving in with somebody, generally you're going to be hot and heavy. You're going to be excited to be there. You're going to be passionate about showing up. And Even if you're in a relationship and you have a pretty good sex life, think about what you would have to face, what you would have to go through, what kind of challenge it would be to actually show up every day. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily having 4-hour marathon sex every single day, because realistically, who's got time for that? But, a 15-minute quickie, a half an hour dalliance, some sort of beautiful experience, or an hour every night before you fall asleep is absolutely within the realm of possibility. And if you are in a joyful, pretty good sexual relationship, just think about what is possible for that. Now, if you're not having any sex with your partner at all right now, I'm going to say don't send them this podcast and be like, let's have a 30-day sex date. Let's have a 30-day connection date. Let's have a 30-day experience where you're connecting on a daily basis. Maybe that means going for a walk and having a conversation. Maybe it means sitting down at a table and looking at each other in the eye, or doing eye gazing, or connecting. It absolutely does not have to be 30 days of sex. And this is the issue that I got myself into on about day 15, when I realized that my definition of 30 days of sex meant that sex could include maybe just oral, or maybe just hands, or maybe just making out, maybe just energetic intimacy, and not, physical penetrative sex every single day. And this was absolutely something that on day 15 we had to talk about and go. And I was like, hey, let's just check in on these expectations and what we're hoping for the next 15 days. Only to find out he thought I meant sex, intimacy, penetration sex. That's not what I signed up for, even though it was my idea, even though I suggested it, even though I was hoping for that in some part of me. It was not something that I was actually really ready to do. But here's the thing. After we'd had sex that evening, and after we had a bit of a conversation about it, I realized I was on the hook for the next 15 days. And there is nothing like putting a little pressure cooker under your butt to make you work through your trauma faster than knowing you're going to have sex again the very next day. And if you don't resolve whatever issue that is that caused it to be a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit uncanny, a little bit like, I'm not so sure about this. If you aren't willing to do the work to resolve that, you have to deal with it again the next day. Oh my gosh. This is where most couples end up with more and more space between their intimacy, because if you just go, oh, well, we'll just wait a couple days. I'm on my period. I don't want to. We'll just let it go. Like whatever your excuse or your reason is to postpone more intimacy, you're really just postponing the healing. And with the Joygasm Alchemy tools, I was able to, and you are absolutely also capable of learning these tools really simply and really quickly, and then applying them to your intimacy so that you can close those trauma loops and go boom, 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 boom. Wow, I am a radically different human on the other side of this. How incredible is that? So you have the opportunity to transform your intimacy. And when you put it in a pressure cooker, like a 30-day sex date, a 30 days of sex challenge, or whatever the heck you want to call it, you absolutely are putting the pressure on yourself to accelerate and do that work quickly. Now, what was the benefit of doing this? Well, first of all, I actively had to work through a huge number of triggers that came up that month. I had been abused sexually by myself and by others throughout the 10 years prior to this relationship. It was hugely challenging to actually go through that experience and to actually show up every day and say, okay, I could really use XYZ. I'm feeling stressed out about this. I'm feeling a little bit worried. And what did we do? Well, but instead of talking about all those things in bed, with him getting a little bit more frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated that, I'm still talking about things that are going through my head, I learned really quickly that if we went on a 10 to 10 to 30-minute walk before our sex date, we'd be able to yip, yap about all the things that happened in our day. I learned this from beautiful couple who do Life Book from Mind Valley. Gosh, that's an incredible experience to just hear about what they're doing. Never mind, I didn't actually even take the course. I just heard that they were doing these daily check-in walks, and I was like, okay, we're going to do daily check-in walks. We're going to go for a walk every day and connect and share what's going on in our lives, so that by the time we get to intimacy, we don't have to talk about the things that happened in our day. I've gotten all those ideas and all those thoughts and stuff, really working that through, and then also getting clear on who he is and what's going on. And I found this to be absolutely incredibly powerful, because there's this idea that for men, they're sort of working from the bottom up in terms of their chakras, in terms of opening to intimacy. Am I safe? Is there a tiger in the room? Are there any children that are going to come jump on me and harass me while I'm in intimacy? No, thank you. As long as those two things are kind of taken care of, so they're not too stressed about their work, or they can at least put it down, then they're able and willing to move into sexuality with that first chakra. They're doing that journey. The deeper levels of intimacy involve moving from their sexual penis based chakra. I'm talking about heterosexual couples here. There's so much to be said about non-gender, non-heterosexual couples. But these apply, to people who are in sort of that masculine feminine dynamic, even if your genders aren't the same. There's that journey. Okay, now I'm connecting with my solar plexus, with my heart, with my ability to speak how much I love you, with my vision of our future together, and share these things. And these things naturally arise as they move through this experience of intimacy, or not, depending on how conscious your dude is and how much he's into all of these things. Women, on the other hand, start from our crown chakra and our third eye. Do I feel spiritually connected with him? Do I feel, do we have a shared vision for our future? Do I feel clear and capable of speaking up? Do I love him? Do I feel empowered by him? Do I want to create with him? Okay, now he can come in my vagina. Now he can be in my body. Those are radically different paths to get ready for intimacy, radically. And for the most part, not always, but for the most part, it's often women putting the kibosh on intimacy. It's often the women who are going, I've got a headache, I don't feel like it, I got pain in my body, blah, 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 blah. Men, on the other hand, are generally more interested in, like, let's get it on, honey. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So what I found is that daily walk would help me get sort of those first 3 chakras, okay, now I love him, into alignment, to be able to show up to intimacy and be like, oh, I love him. I want to explore body with him by the time we got into the bedroom. Absolutely super, super helpful. The second really strong benefit that came out of doing a 30-day sex challenge was that by the end of our 30 days of living together, the first 30 days of our living together, only 3 or 4 months into our relationship, we had a habit of having sex every day, which meant that almost 2 years in now, maybe a year and a half, we are still having sex almost every day. That is pretty rare. And it's pretty incredible. And literally, I totally attribute that to the habit of wanting to show up to intimacy and getting ready by doing the work, doing the internal work to align all parts of myself with whatever it is that need to happen to show up to that intimacy in that moment. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know if I can do that. I really don't want to talk to my partner about that. What if I suggest it and he says yes? Oh my God. Well, take a little piece of paper right now, literally pause the podcast, get yourself a piece of paper and go, what is the worst thing that could happen if I commit to 7 days of sex? You don't even have to choose 30. Be like, oh, I heard about this thing is a 7-day sex challenge. I don't care. It could be a 2-day sex challenge, like today and tomorrow. You can even say, let's start this on the weekend, and just do 2 days of intimacy on the weekend. Depends on where your sex life is at, right? For some people, 30 days might not be a big challenge. It might be, let's get up to like twice a day on a regular basis. It might be, let's get up to 5 times a day. It might be, whatever that next goal is for you in your intimacy, you can absolutely get there, but you have to know what it is first, and you have to both be on board to create it. So write down for yourself on this piece of paper, what is the worst thing that could happen if you suggest an X number of days sex challenge? Whatever that is the work that you have to do, regardless. regardless of whether you do a 7-day sex challenge, regardless of whether you don't want to show up to intimacy, or you're showing up to intimacy next week or next month or on the next birthday or whatever, you are absolutely going to have to face whatever that thing you wrote down was. And I'm sorry, it's probably hard to hear, it's probably challenging to know, but you really, really, really need to know that it doesn't matter when you do this. As soon as you lean into that intimacy practice, you are going to have to face the unresolved things. You are going to have to face the sexual trauma. And the beautiful gift from this, because there is absolutely a beautiful gift in facing that trauma, is that with the Joygasmic Alchemy tools, you can absolutely resolve those traumas. You can absolutely transform those traumas and create an experience where you are empowered, where you are connected, where you have the ability to connect with that voice and share what it is that you really want in your intimacy. And then your intimacy has the ability to grow, nurture you, support every single area of your life to be more beautiful and grow in depth and joy and peace and wisdom. Sustain your relationship, create a relationship if you don't already have one, create a new relationship if you're in a relationship and you're not sure how to make it better, because absolutely you have a relationship and you're not happy with it, whether that's a relationship with yourself and you're not happy with it, or a relationship with a partner and you're not happy with it. You are the hologram. You are the hologram. You are the creator and the observer of your experience. And whatever you are most expecting is what you will get. And you can absolutely, absolutely change what you are expecting. Absolutely. Completely. And it will be a beautiful, powerful moment when you realize that, and when you have your first couple new manifestations. It's an incredible, incredible journey. If you have any questions about the 30-day sex challenge, or the however many days you want to do, or the however many day blowjob challenge, or the 2-day eat my pussy challenge, or the 7-day eat my pussy challenge, gosh, that is a challenging challenge there. How many women are terrified of exploring intimacy and receiving? I'm going to do that, actually. Thank you. See, look, even me, I'm like, I'm scared of that, but I'm going to do it because I know that I will become a better human being on the other side of it. I'm still scared. Why am I scared? What's the worst thing that could happen? Worst thing that could happen is that I become unstoppable. And what's the worst thing that could happen there? I'd be more visible to people, and people would be intimidated by me and how clear I am. That's okay with me, because I know how clear I'll be. Okay. So that is a really, really short version of the process. I've done a lot of practicing on this, so it's really quick for me to do it. It can take longer for you to do it, but I'm absolutely here to support you in that journey. So whatever kind of challenge you want to create, something that scares you, not something that terrifies you, something that challenges you and pushes your boundaries, not something that is horrific. You can do this. And you can suggest to either yourself if you're single, or your partner if you're not, that they engage in this journey with you as a conscious process of learning and expanding, knowing that stuff will come up, knowing that you now have the tools to handle it because you're part of the Joygasm Alchemy group, or because you're going to join the Joygasm Alchemy group, to have support to be able to do this, whatever that might be. You can absolutely, absolutely become more joyful, become more powerful. And so much of the of life is because we've cut ourselves off from joy, because we've cut off those challenging emotions. So in order to get to those high states of joy, you absolutely have to process those challenging emotions. And I'm here to support that, as are many, many other practitioners around the world. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here for today. If you are curious about joining the Joygasm Alchemy experience or the Joygasmic Life membership, absolutely head over to elenaharder.com or joygasm.me. The information about which link you should go to is in the show notes for this video, for this podcast. And if you're interested in watching the video versions of this, all of the videos are in the membership There's so much content there and so many beautiful courses and so many freebies from the interview guests to the people that I host. And I would be incredible to get to experience and know you better through sharing this journey and through supporting you in opening up to your absolutely most incredible intimacy. You absolutely deserve a joyful life. You absolutely deserve to feel joy and bliss and pleasure. And you absolutely have the strength, the inner competence, and the knowing, the inner knowing of what is possible for you. So go out there and get it. Create the dream. Create the life you've always dreamed of. Create your life. It starts from the inside out. And I'm absolutely here to support you. So much love to you today. I hope you have an incredible day. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what your challenge is, how you want to do that, and what is going to be possible for you on the other side. Have a beautiful day.